So, local works, October 23rd. Start the meeting?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I talked to Josh about adding one thing to new business after Kathy, which is about the cultural district.
Actually, I'm going to speak about that during public comments. So.
Okay. Can we consolidate that with that?
Sure.
Just add it to new business?
Sure.
Okay. So B will be the cultural district. Okay. Meeting minutes from the 9th?
I read them, they looked good.
Yeah, the only thing I did, on the minutes itself, it said the 10th. On the published,
That needs to be...
on the published version.
So amending the date.
Okay.
That was the only correction?
That's the only thing I had noticed.
Okay.
I move to accept the minutes as amended.
I second it.
Moving on, Kathy?
Okay, do we have public? Okay, whatever.
I can't take minutes.
Okay, so local fair concept.
Okay, sorry.
The local fair is something I proposed to my board about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know if anybody's been to the Amherst Fair, the Amherst Public Fair. It's held in May, mid-May, and it's sponsored by the Rotary Club. And the Rotary Club raises a lot of money, which they then grant out to other organizations within the community. And while I was there, gauging by how much money I had spent on 3 children, I thought, this would be great if we did something like, originally the concept came as a fundraiser for Channel 5, but it seemed like an awful lot of work that my board wasn't ready to take on. And having spoken with Jim Zarvis about that, we decided to try to put it into local works. And that might be a good idea. So basically, the vision is to take it a step further than what Amherst does. What Amherst does is the Rotary Club sets up dogs and burgers and sodas. They're the food vendor. And that's how they raise the bulk of the cash. And then they contract with an amusements company that then brings in the amusements. They charge for the amusements and they kick back a percentage to the Rotary Club. And I don't know what the permitting is involved in Amherst. I know that in Easthampton, according to the last town planner, there was no special permitting necessary for this kind of an event. Maybe you can help clarify that. But so the concept is to have a fair, because that would be just super fun. Like, if there was a fair in town with amusements, what parent's not going to want to bring their kids there, right? So then to pick a strategic date, and maybe even a long weekend like a Memorial Day or something that's not a fall fair, so it doesn't compete with the fall stuff. There's an awful lot of stuff that happens in the fall. There is not an awful lot of stuff that happens in spring, and to host it in the spring while the Williston campus is still in session is, just kind of garners your market base. So if we think about the fair as a fundraising idea for some agencies, which we can determine, and then take it and extend it further by making it also a local products showcase. So what the Chamber did with the Fall Festival was more trade show oriented. You could take a component of a trade show oriented and host it in a certain amount of space where people can showcase their companies, or they could sponsor booths. But in addition to that, you can have an Indian food booth. You can have, Mount Tom's ice cream being the ice cream vendor. So then it becomes an issue of like organizing what the vendor booths are going to look like, what they're going to sell, and everybody has an opportunity to make money privately, and everybody has an opportunity to also kick back into the local works fund that then determines where and the other sponsors of the event. So it's to sort of take the gap that's left by the lack of fall festival and fill it with something that's really festive and really fun, and could be more than just a fundraising idea. It could become a community event and a community tradition. And that's the concept.
And where would we hold it?
Well, that's a little problematic. You could hold it in the fields, in the daily field area, but then parking becomes an issue, although it doesn't seem to be that much of an issue during fireworks. And since it's kind of, what I had envisioned it to be is sort of like a fundraiser for Nashawanic Pond and for Channel 5, and to somehow put that together, and it'd be really cool if everything could kind of be staged on the way in and around the pond, but that's not really realistic. So I think that it would be, location is a little bit of a problem, and at one point I had a conversation with Michael Tausnick, who suggested possibly Pleasant Green, but I think also parking would be a huge problem there. So, the parking is a problem for that. The only thing that kind of deals with that problem is parking at Whitebrook Middle School or parking at the high school. It's possible there could be a shuttle as well. But that's the concept, so I wanted to introduce the concept so that we could maybe have a discussion about that. I think it could be a really relevant event for the city, and especially through Local Works, where we're trying to promote local economies. It's build a carnival that promotes local economy and that showcases the products that people are already doing. So that's my idea, and I'm sticking with it.
Apologize for being late again.
That's okay.
Right. You are allowed.
So how do we proceed then with that? Just think about it some more, or?
Well, maybe the way to do it is to form a subcommittee that kind of tries to hash out some stuff and do some preliminary research. That would be my recommendation. I'll
What
volunteer
about
myself.
the licensing or permitting?
Permitting, I would have to look into. I don't know offhand. If Stuart said there was nothing in the zoning ordinance, it hasn't changed much since then.
Right.
But there may be some general ordinances about fairs and carnivals and stuff like that. I'm sure that there's
Okay.
something somewhere that will pertain. But I don't see it. I mean, there have been carnivals privately held before in Easthampton, or
Right. It would look something like the fireworks display, but far more comprehensive. It wouldn't just be a bounce house and a bunch of guys selling corn dogs. But somebody could sell corn dogs, but it would be local corn dogs. It would be, corn dogs made from such and such a bakery, and that's what they're going to do. They can pay for a booth slot, and then they can kick back a sales percentage to the sponsoring organization. And then everybody makes money, and everybody's happy, and everybody wins. Everybody benefits from that concept.
There's a lot of logistical stuff.
It is. It's a huge project. I'm not trying to downplay it, but
You just give you an idea, going way back when the Kiwanis ran the fireworks, just things like electricity.
yep.
That in that kind of situation is tough.
But you'd have to do, there would be generator trucks.
You'd have to do something like that, and there's a lot of cost involved. The other thing is just, I don't want to be a wet blanket or anything, but just some of the stuff we're up against. If you're having food booths, they all have to be compliant, and they're with the Board of Health regulations, and that may constitute having to have running water and things like that. And then your whole, it's very, very labor intensive.
Well, Eric, would you like to be on the subcommittee, and we can come up with some lists of just checklists of getting the ducks in a row to see, like a feasibility study?
I'd like to step back on that.
Okay.
What about, the suggestion is to try to approach, say, the Amherst, and find out who organized that.
I have
so we
like
can
7 calls into that.
get a meeting with them to find out, because somebody's making money at these events, which is
Right.
part of the goal. Find out how they do that, how much money they make, maybe they have a template for their whole production of it.
That is the first step, and
Then we can get
I have
other people
contacted
with money
several
interested
times.
in, if they do want to get it off the ground.
Right, I haven't had very good luck with callback. I've been calling the president of the Rotary Club for about 6 months.
Right, because it is pretty dynamic over there on Amherst when they have all the,
Right.
There's a lot of people mingling around, but could you get that kind of thing here, or maybe it's in combination with the fireworks committee to build something up? I don't know.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I know the fire. One thing you try to do, even a small town is not to kind of step on people's toes either. If you have it in the spring and you've got something like the fireworks or raising a big chunk of money just to put that on, are you diluting the fundraising efforts of both, actually?
I don't think you are, because I think they do very different kinds of events. I mean, the fireworks is a community event that's geared toward the fireworks and people that go and camp out for the fireworks. I don't think anything's going to detract from 4th of July. You know what I mean? That's my opinion. I mean, I go to the fireworks and, get $7 pierogies just because they're fireworks, so why not? But it's also a way to pull lots of community organizations into the fold and garner support for local works and for local businesses and try to, generate momentum when we're talking about local economies. And it becomes a product showcase. So if there's something that you want to highlight, it can be as complicated as setting up like a county fair. It can be as complicated as setting up product demonstrations, or you having girls in your costumes doing a dance recital, and that happens at a certain time, and that's an event. You can have event stages. There's a lot of things that you can do with that I think makes it better than what Amherst does, which is just take my money and listen to my children cry when it's time to go.
Good problem for Amherst.
But I mean, there can be an arts component, there can be presentations, there can be like a mini trade show under a tent where insurance companies can come and set up what their products are and highlight what they do, and another tent can have, I don't know, whatever else that there is in town.
Easthampton City Arts organizes a one-day it's not a festival, a one-day event in the early fall called Art Hampton, and that is specifically for showcasing the arts, and we try to take the emphasis off of open studios because that's already well done by Cottage Street Studios, and we focus on demonstrations. So local workshops, demonstrations, things like that. I'm not sure if that's something that could be combined.
It's possible. I mean, in the same way that the dog show is now rolled into the Pumpkin Festival, so there's another activity in May that's not going to happen in May anymore. So
I guess I think it's a great idea. I think that as a committee, it probably would take all of us working on it to actually really make it happen, and that I think we have a few things. Like, it seems like it's more of a long-term
it is. It's about 2 years of planning, I think, to pull off an initial.
And I think that it's like good to discuss it now and think about it and maybe keep it in the back of our heads. I guess more events are good. They draw people into the community.
It's also a good way to draw people from out of town to town, I think.
But I guess I just feel like we're not quite ready to break off into subgroups and start working on another program.
No, I don't think I'm suggesting that we do that. I think to break off into a group and do a feasibility study and say this is what would need to happen in order to make something like is not a bad idea. That's not really taking a lot of action. It's just kind of getting administrative ducks in a row. So.
Instead of a one-day thing, couldn't we keep the momentum going and do a 1 month, 1 day a month for art, arts and the businesses and vendors, or
you mean
instead of everything all at once, just break it up?
I think that would be logistically far more. So you'd be throwing separate events. So if you're going to bring in rides, and then you want to block out a certain amount of time, and it's not a one-day event; it's a 3-day event. It starts on maybe Thursday night and goes to Sunday afternoon or something like that. Fully equipped with like maybe one day is a wristband day, and I don't know.
So I'm hearing good from maybe what we should do is table this for now as we can move on with the rest of, think about it some more and try to have a clearer vision.
I don't believe, I never expected action to come out of just introducing the concept.
I think it's
It
an
is something
very interesting
to mill around
concept.
with.
One thing came to my mind was, it would be great if Local Works, if we could have some sort of, it would be a big enough challenge for us right now to have a booth that just expressed what Local Works was and some of these goals and the survey and getting it, then that could grow out into a
I'm
larger.
thinking like a local works section.
Right.
You know, if
Right.
local works, it could also be in conjunction with chamber
Right.
section that is like,
I guess what I'm saying is we need to have our own house in order
yes.
before we can have a whole festival of things.
No, I agree. This is not
Yeah.
going to happen tomorrow. It's not. I mean, it is about 2 years of planning, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's about 6 months of research and 12 months of signing people up and finding generators.
Or if there was somebody that has a lot of money and wants to put this on, then maybe by the time they get it done, we could have Local Works could easily have a booth there, because this is something that could happen if somebody
Right.
wants to really do it.
Right.
Do you have any general order of estimate of what the cost of putting this on is?
I don't, I haven't done a lot of research because I needed to find a group that was interested in it first. Otherwise, it wasn't going to be just me alone, and it wasn't going to be the board at Channel 5. So there was sort of no point in
I just wonder, because if we do have to start planning and putting things up monetary wise, and we have a very limited budget as well.
Right.
So
Well, that's why now it'd be good to keep it in the planning stages and do the research.
Right.
Yeah.
Just doing the research is sort of what I'm proposing.
Before we move on, can I just get a couple things that I missed? The thing that you were going to add to the agenda,
Right.
that wasn't this, was it? Because that was...
No, that was the
Cultural district.
cultural district.
Okay. Okay.
That's next.
And there's some preliminary minutes.
That I'll be glad to
Thank
send
you.
you.
there's also a video of what's happened
Yep.
in this too.
Cultural...
District.
And there's a correction to the minutes.
Oh, okay.
So you can get that. You can get that.
And so that passed, right, obviously.
Right. The amended minutes, it was just a date change for
The
the...
date change at the top, it said Tuesday, October 10th, it should have been Tuesday, October 9th.
Oh, I did notice that. Thank you. Okay, who motioned to adopt the agenda? It says Josh, and I wasn't here, so...
Eric, good.
Okay, and seconded by?
Kathy.
Thank you, okay. And date on post, recent minutes, sorry.
I can send this to you.
So, the Easthampton Cultural District Subcommittee had sent me an email asking if Local Works wanted to participate in their district. I think Denise probably
Yes.
has more details.
Yeah. So some of you are already familiar with this, but Easthampton City Arts formed a subcommittee for putting an initiative forward to the City Council to make a cultural district in Easthampton. This is a designation that is given by the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and when approved is recognized by the state. It's a district within a town or a city that has cultural assets and is a feasible walkable area. Like they limit to about a mile. I only made 5 of these, so if you could share them. But these answer some of the questions about the cultural district. We've already put it before the City Council, which did approve it. We have some other things that we have to go through as far as the application goes. One of those...
Have you seen this?
No.
I don't have one here, but I have.
Oh, okay. One of the points for the application is finding partners within that cultural district that work on a committee that actually do what needs to be done. The marketing, the plan for the district going forward. So we would like to ask Local Works to be one of those partners. The cultural district is on the map on the second to the last page. This was chosen by the Massachusetts Cultural Council. We put 3 maps, or gave them 3 maps. This is the one that they chose. This starts at the beginning of Cottage Street and goes to the Art Bar, which is the old town hall on the Rotary. It does not include Pleasant Street, which has already become a contentious point, which we totally understand and agree. But the Massachusetts Cultural Council decided that this was the most feasible map that we presented. And one of our main goals in the mission statement, or going forward, will be to at least expand this or create another cultural district to include Pleasant Street. The assets that are within that map are on the back page. There's over 115. And assets can be anything from a farmer's market to the pond to art walks to obviously individual artists, restaurants. The partnerships, so the partnership must have a governance structure. The management responsibility may be assigned to one of the partners or partner entities in the city or town. The entity must be a good match for the assignment and have the capacity to lead the partnership. So you would, hypothetically, if somebody did want to come on board, be part of that board.
But ECA Plus is taking the lead in the management?
ECA Plus is taking the lead, yes.
Yeah, okay. I just-
Well, it's a good fit and it certainly makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I could serve as the Local Works person on that board.
Wouldn't be a conflict of interest or whatever they call it.
No, we're asking the EDIC as well. I mean, she could serve as that person. I mean, there's lots of double,
So my only question is, so what is required then of Local Works? Like, will there be...
Local Works, we would need a representative. If we chose to be a partner, we would need a representative on that board. And the board would probably meet about 4 times a year. And this is hypothetical. I mean, this is if we get approved. The board will meet 4 times a year and decide the direction of the cultural district. It would decide the marketing, what it's going to look like. It would decide whether we put banners up on streetlights. It would decide if there's going to be an event. It would decide things like that, what they want that cultural district to look like and how it would move forward.
Did you say that you'd be happy being that person?
I could be, yes.
Okay.
You said you're also approaching the EDIC board.
Yes. The chamber has been approached, and there are many others that are going to be approached as well.
Seems like a good fit.
I think so.
I think so too.
So do we want to...
Vote on it. Yeah.
Do we want to vote to be partners and then figure out who the representative is?
You don't have to figure out who
later?
the representative. Yes, exactly.
So we vote, any objection?
I make a motion that we be a partner in the cultural district.
Second, that motion.
Any opposed?
That was seconded by Sue. That was seconded by Sue.
Seconded by 2 people?
By Sue.
By Sue, okay, thank you, Sue.
So we move on to the...
So we have to take a vote.
Oh, we just did.
We did. I said any opposed.
Oh, I thought that was for
Yeah.
discussion.
Move on to old business then? The Local Works website, Josh, do you want to update us?
I still haven't heard back from... Initially, about 3 weeks ago, I sent an email to James Jarvis asking him if the 3 of us could get together. He left me a voicemail pretty much that next weekend when I was out of town, and I got busy and didn't do anything about it until about 5 days ago when I sent him another email, and I've not yet heard back. So,
I have something to add to that.
okay.
Because I spoke to Jim today, and he said that I had to speak to him on a different issue, but
What's become a different issue?
I had to speak to him about a different issue, but, so I mentioned it just because we were coming to this meeting today, and he currently hosts the website, so it's his hosting space. His hosting space can only accommodate his software. He wrote this web application for this particular web, whatever it's called, something management solutions, maybe. But he hosts the local works website. He also hosts the city's website. I also spoke to Barry Small, and he said that he did not think that the city would agree to host necessarily a site for us, only in the interest of then any committee who wanted a site would then feel entitled to have a site, and if they run out of space, then they're dead in the water. So it was more of an issue of fairness, that if we do it for one, we have to do it for all. So that the inclination would be no. So we want to go to WordPress, but to have someone else host it. Jim also offered to train someone in his software, which is, he said, is very simple and easy to use. And it's more like constructing a Microsoft Word document.
We don't want to use, we need to use WordPress though, so that's not going to work.
Well, I just thought I'd introduce that as a concept because, you know, we hadn't heard anything about it, and now we have heard about it, so.
We can get hosting, I mean, I know I pay about $75 a year for my hosting.
That's within our budget.
Pretty robust.
Is there a place that we could have it hosted if we use WordPress?
The company I use is called jumpline.com.
Okay.
And that's,
I was just thinking that in the interest of staying local, that this is something that's local.
we could find somebody local.
If that's just an individual though, I mean, are you suggesting having James continue hosting it for us, just because as an individual?
He said he would, yes, he said he'd be perfectly happy to continue hosting the website, and he'd be perfectly happy to train someone in how to use the software properly so that someone else could take over the maintenance of the website.
But then that would be one person who could do that. Not everyone could do it.
No, but
It's
I mean,
not a system that's compatible with the rest of the whole universe of WordPress plugins for all.
right, I don't know what the plugins are going to be like, but I just thought it was,
We don't want to be in that kind of proprietary kind of walled garden, you know? It's
I mean, I like the idea of keeping it local, but if it means that we can only have one or two people who can actually do work on the website, and it's not conducive to...
well, I think in reality that we can have one or two people.
And it's not conducive to work with other websites that are around, and other people being able to use it. I think, you know, because like our decals weren't made locally, because there wasn't any place to do it.
Maybe there's a hosting company in Easthampton.
No, I see both sides of the argument. I just thought might want to entertain it.
If we are to go with WordPress on some other server, how difficult would it be to recreate it, to start it? Could you just take it by looking at localworks.biz and recreate it?
It's essentially, you know, you start a new template, and I think we ultimately would want to have the graphics integrated with the website to some degree, and if we have to hire somebody who's a graphics person to create a customized template, we could do that as well.
I hear somebody wants to say something.
Well, I guess we've gone down the road a bit with this website. It's not exactly perfect, but it doesn't take much. We need content for the website more than anything else. Even if we go to WordPress, we still need content for the website. I think we should develop content that we want to put up and get it up on the website as quickly as possible.
You don't want to work with that existing
and not spend as much time redesigning a website or recreating a website. We can take that content later, import it when we decide to go to a different format.
You could create that existing website in WordPress in probably an hour. You know, there's really nothing there. It's a wireframe that's totally empty, so that's not the issue. It's having something like WordPress where you could just get plugins for Twitter and forums and all sorts of blogging and collaboration that's just built in with a totally
Sure.
free and open source environment that's common. I don't see any point in sticking with
We still need the content.
to the content, but
Right, but we
you don't have a system to host that content. This is almost impenetrable.
I think we probably should take a vote. The way I see it is option A is to stay with the current website, having it be hosted by James, and having
Did we
him...
already vote on that last time to move it to WordPress?
Oh, did we?
I thought we did.
Let's look. So, anyone have the minutes handy? I can bring them up.
So we're gonna say transfer over.
Actually, we did.
Okay. Good, that makes things easier then.
Let's go back in the minutes and just double check.
One thing here. Transfer with current, not sure. So they get trust it.
I don't see an actual vote.
I don't
I thought
know.
we tabled it.
Josh suggests we start by getting site transferred over to Spencer, so we need a designated webmaster.
Doesn't show a vote.
John,
The others do.
Okay, well then I suggest that we, it'd be nice if we could make a decision. Option A would be for us to keep the website hosted by James, and James, it would be up to us to get one or two people to sit with James when he has time to get the training to how to operate it. Option 2 is for us to start anew using WordPress and hosting it on another server, something like, you said Jumpstart or Jumpline. Do we need more discussion?
Who's going to take the lead on that?
I'll volunteer to take the lead on managing a WordPress, getting it set up.
I mean, if we have someone to take the lead on it, and we don't have any volunteers to take the lead on training with Jim, then I don't know that we even need a vote.
Well, I think we should vote because we have some real differences in opinion. And I think it should be laid out exactly what we're doing so that it's clear.
I'm not sure I understand enough to make an intelligent vote, to be honest with you.
Okay.
We could.
Can we try to explain it better, or is...
well, I am kind of in the same boat as Susan. I just don't... Either way, in both options, we have to have, I think someone has to be designated to be, for lack of a better word, and I don't know if it's a proper word, the webmaster,
Yeah.
the controlling person. So that's one thing. If we have that, our next decision is which avenue to take. And as Ben brought up, the longer we wait to do anything is a detriment to our whole show. So I think there's an expediency.
So do we want to create a new URL, or do we want to take the URL that already exists and migrate it over?
I think we should use the URL that we have. We publish it a lot. How much time would it be to migrate it over to something on WordPress? You said 45 minutes?
Maybe an hour or so, you know?
It doesn't take that long, but
It's not so much, it's what we have would be something that everybody can work on. Everybody can have an account, you can have blogs. It's something you can actually build on. The template, the way it looks, is also upgradable. I think the ECA Plus site is a WordPress site that they've had a customized theme. So what I would propose furthermore, because I'm not a graphics person, but to take the logo and create a template eventually that is something more customized. But there's plenty of templates available for WordPress just to make, what you have now is basically the logo and a generic kind of template.
Can I make a motion that we vote to start this process and not vote to commit to deciding today whether or not we want to go to WordPress, but to basically do what we did with the logo, or make a draft, spend 45 minutes or an hour to start going to WordPress so we can see what it looks like, to show us like the pros and cons of how Facebook plugs in or Twitter plugs in or whatever, and then we can make more of an informed decision and see how it's starting to lay out.
Well, I think from the layman's point of view, the look and feel won't necessarily be any different. I think it's just the mechanics of it is that we're talking about. And I think we should get the mechanics done so that we can use it and get the content on there.
But does it hurt if we do what Ben just suggested?
It's not a question of hurting, but I think we've done it. And we have localworks.biz. And would it look different?
Not necessarily.
I don't think it would. I mean, I think we've got it.
Well,
I think we'd be backtracking if we're going to go start over again, start the whole design stuff. All we're talking about is having it be housed on a different server somewhere.
No, that's not what we're talking about. I thought we were talking about creating a whole new website from scratch using the WordPress model.
Right now, we don't really have a website. You have a website with a bunch of menus that lead to a blank page.
Right.
So what this would do would be to start over in the sense of the content management system that's running that website would now be WordPress, which is very up-to-date system that would allow us to really update this in a more dynamic way.
So it would still look like this.
Unclear. Is that true?
This is localworks.biz.
It could look like
It could look like
It could look like
that.
that.
And this is somewhat of a customized look in the sense that you have, photo here, logo here, a login here. I mean, to try to recreate this exact visual, I mean, we could certainly take these photos and, there might be it might look a little different, but my suggestion would be eventually to have a graphics person make a customized template that was integrated with localworks.
I just want to add something too. You can have a WordPress where we can do everything the amount wants to do. We don't even have to publish it. I mean, so it's not like there's going to be a gap. The .biz can be up and running until all the content is in the other. So it's not, one does not prohibit the other. That's my first point. Second point is, maybe we should also think about a .org address.
The .org addresses were not available in something that was in my. Do you remember the only .orgs that were filled?
There wasn't a .org or
And that's why we went with .biz, so we could get something close to localworks.
So there's nothing of easthamptonlocalworks.org or?
We went through this,
You
yeah.
went through the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just in it's a city agency, it should be consistent. But
I think, good point though about these not necessarily being the same issue. You're right, two separate issues. Okay, so we should perhaps work on a look and feel, expanding upon this.
If you want to keep the same exact look, then that's a customized look. You'd have to just, as far
I
as
could do that.
these letterings and different menus, you'd have to work within the WordPress kind of templating to get that, and that's something I'm not volunteering for.
Okay, well, I could do that.
You could do that.
But what about incorporating the new logo?
Yeah, we want that too. Yeah. But in terms of
There's no much to recreate, really. It's just a couple photos.
what server are we putting the effort into? Where's it going to go? That's what I'm saying. We should decide that so that we're not spinning.
I'll research local servers and see if there's somebody local that we can give the business to.
One thing about creating a WordPress installation, though, is you create a database, a MySQL table, and to create all of that and then transport and bring that over again as a demo is another series of steps that might be more complicated than just installing the program and working from it. To build up essentially the functionality of what you have here shouldn't be complicated. It may not look literally exactly the same, but we could get something close enough, and then also have much more functionality while we at the same time develop the graphical element of it and try to get it looking either exactly like that or improved upon.
So you're saying that we do go live with the new website before we've even worked it all out?
Well, this is live and it's not really worked out, and you got an old logo on there. We could certainly get the new logo and these type of four menus, if that, and no content, then it's live. But at least at that point, you have your content system is.
See, bringing us to where we are today now,
We have
just on a server that we can, on a system we can all use.
We have 20 minutes left of the meeting. Do we want to continue discussing this for the next 20 minutes?
Well, how about the next minute and a half so that we know where going forward what we're going to be doing?
Sorry, I don't want to cut off discussion, but I do want to cut off discussion.
Okay. Well, I think the only thing we need to decide, that I would like to see us decide, is if we're going to go through the effort of trying to do something on WordPress, it would be waste of time if we're dedicated on staying on the one that James has. And the only thing I'm uncomfortable with about staying the one that James has is that it's limited as to who can work with it. That's my only thing. So I'd like to see if we can we need to put effort into this. We've been sitting on this for a long time. But I would like to not spin wheels putting efforts into one thing if we're going to end up going with the other. So what I'm just trying to say is, can we make a decision if we're going to go this way or this way?
I'm sorry, I thought that you could build a WordPress website that's live, but not necessarily live. It doesn't
You
come
can.
up on Google that,
You could do that,
that
but
just says /WP.
you can build that, but we need to have hosting. I mean, to do that on.
So-
We could, it's just, I don't know.
So what's the first step?
It's more complicated to try to maintain this. I think what you ultimately want is that localworks.biz, get some web space and just install WordPress and go with it. And you have essentially what you have now with a better management system, and then start improving on
We need a
that.
hosting vendor first, and then we can
You said
decide
you look into that, right?
when that's going to happen.
Right. So find hosting, then we'll update next meeting. Maybe that would be good.
Okay.
There's,
And in the meantime, maybe you could find a template that is close or that you like, that you want to present,
I mean, we could keep it to look like that. If that was something, we need the new logo, the new,
Think that anyone here, other than Jim, who's not here, is particularly attached to the layout of the current.
No, yeah, I mean.
what I like is the idea for something, is to get somebody who is creative to kind of integrate. Once you show them the new logo, say, we're trying to build a website, do something that makes it look nice, come up with it. I'm not a graphics designer.
Well, I know there's a web designer locally in town, Joanne, I'm spacing on her last name. But anyway, Joanne Pinatel, who is great with all that stuff. I mean, she worked with me very closely to design our website, which I think looks pretty darn good.
I think James is the one who did the ECA Plus's website in WordPress, so maybe he'd be interested in doing it, if he seems to have the know-how.
I think if we're going to pay someone to do it, there's a slight conflict in interest to just give it to any one person.
I think we should try doing some stuff within ourselves before we pay for it. Okay? I mean, I can
That's
help
fine.
do some of this stuff too. We have some creative minds here.
Is there
That's fine.
conflict in that instance?
Not at all. I just think we're paying. I mean, this is why Jim doesn't charge for his hosting services for us. He was even paying the domain name registration out of pocket because we didn't have a budget.
We did the
So-
ACA site for free too.
So like if we do it on our own, I don't see there being any conflicts. But as soon as we start spending money
Next
to
step, we have to-
design it,
we should talk
we
to
have
James.
we're into purchasing and purchasing laws, and it gets very complicated, and we'd have to get some quotes and scopes of
Right,
services, and,
bids.
depending on the price that we're expecting, and it's just.
Okay, the one thing I want to make sure that there are some here who aren't going to be really uncomfortable with this is if we do start to take steps working with James on creating something that could go onto WordPress. Are there people who are going to have a real problem with that?
And my only, I don't have a problem with that, but would he be willing to work outside of what his standard?
We'll find out.
What he did
ask
for
him.
ECA Plus.
We'll find out. We'll ask him.
So, I need to go shortly, so.
Okay.
So are we going to table that any motion until we get more
Yes.
information on hosting?
Yes.
And
What I said here was Denise said she would research a local hosting vendor. Matt and Josh said they will talk to James about creating a version for WordPress. And we'll come back and present to y'all next meeting.
How about,
So, next item, Bob? Yes, discuss Channel 5 using airtime to promote local business. We're going to be doing that anyway, but it would be nice to do that and sort of maybe have some directives from this community, from this committee.
The magnetic strip goes down.
So,
when
I mean,
it's
there's a
already
lot of
started, right?
options.
Or-
Well, no, it's in our plan. You know, there are some, we had some discussion with the chamber about using their chamber spotlights. Obviously, we're a nonprofit television, we don't advertise, but there's lots of information, and I think specifically focused on local vendors of local products is right up our alley,
Great.
so. You know, as a promotional tool, then those things can also go on the website. They can go on our website, they can go on your website, they can go on whatever it is. If we're creating a catalog, that, you know, videos can be made.
That's great.
So, what's become our sort of, it's not our mission, but our focus is to put as many local faces and local things on the public access channel as possible. I would just solicit participation from the public to do that, so.
So do you want ideas from us? Is that what you'd like?
Some ideas or some, maybe some places to start, if anybody knows somebody who wants to do a spotlight, like we could do something like a spotlight, or we could just do general information.
What did I
We could do
miss?
something- we could do a business directory. Well, I was trying to get, I've been trying to get Marianne in for 2 years, so this might be the good,
Also Nash Gallery.
right, National Gallery, right, so. You know, National Gallery could promote, so here's an example of kind of a happy marriage. National Gallery is selling this book written by Cole Patrick, who was a student at Maple School that wrote a nonfiction book and then illustrated himself. They sell his books there, so you could do a little spot about my books are for sale here, National Gallery. National Gallery's on Cottage Street. It's not advertising. Or I made this book, it's here, you know, I would have to look at the specific guidelines. But then
Be
that's,
promoting?
well, there's two things. One, anything that goes on public access television, it has to adhere to PBS guidelines. It cannot be advertising prices, it can't be advertising. But there's no rules about what goes on the website. Done. So, if you want more in-depth, you know, you can say, go to the website, www. You know, so I just think that would be an interesting project, and it, you know, that communicate. I mean, you can issue 1,000 press releases, and good luck. You know, people will show up or they won't. But if you can do it in your house in your underwear, then everyone will go check it out.
Well, what's the next step?
YouTube links are easy. I think the next step is just kind of mill around with the concept and maybe, you know, think about it. If anybody has any ideas about it, let's send out a group email.
Okay.
Is it in any way similar to like public, like radio? Where
Yes.
like, I mean, FCR, we can, us as a business, the bank, can be a sponsor.
Yes.
But you can't advertise anything, you say your name and your location.
No, but what you could do is you could do 5-minute fun facts about how to apply for a mortgage, which is a piece of public information that Easthampton Savings Bank is now sponsoring and putting out.
Great.
So
That you
that,
can't get income from it, like as a sponsor? I mean, because we pay for that. So I'm wondering about funding.
It's the publicity. That's the only.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Who can't get income?
Are you looking for funding for this, or you're just looking for
Not
material?
necessarily. I'm looking for material. If we got into a larger scope, then yeah, I would be happy to haul myself out for some funding. That would be great. I'd be
I
happy to
just
do
wonder
that.
if a bank sponsored it at a cost, that you could get money, like we do with FCR.
Yes, that is another option, but that's not what I'm proposing. But I'd like to talk about that later. But this is just really like, I'm thinking like 30 seconds or a minute of, hi, I'm Mary Ann, I'm here on Cottage Street, and here's a girl doing a pirouette. If you want to see more, come on down.
I think it's a great idea.
Or something, that's like, there's plenty of non-commercial self-promotion that's available. This city has a pretty cool public access center that's completely underutilized. How do we tie those things in? These are, again, this concept, I don't have a plan except that, we, Channel 5, is going to be sponsoring spots for nonprofits, for local nonprofits and the police and the fire safety and all these people. We're sponsoring a number of shows, or we're putting forth that effort to make sure that those things are produced. And then in addition to that, anybody from the community, i.e. the local works committee, that wants to generate a list and come in and start working on stuff, we're here to support that effort. So why not utilize that? This seems like a logical place to start with that. And the chamber feels like a logical place to start with that.
It sure does.
That it's not just for, freaks with guitars jumping up and down screaming. It's actually, there's good information on there.
That was many years ago.
So non-commercial self-promotion is what you're looking for.
Yep.
Non-commercial self-promotion. Shameless, too, is fine.
Do we have time to talk about the last thing?
I have to go. I have
Okay.
We have 5 minutes.
5 minutes, but
Suggest that we start with the survey next time.
Okay. Did people look it over?
sorry.
So, the survey?
Survey, yeah.
Look at hers. David. Yeah, we'll make sure we undo it. Aye. So you don't, not now?
We have 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I mean, realistically, that's enough time to figure out where we started, where we left off.
How much further, where are we?
See?
I
We
spoke about
actually-
it at EDIC, and Jessica was there,
Yes,
and she seemed very anxious to get her hands on it.
yes. We've been having, I mean, as far as the planning department is concerned, this is what local works should be working on top priority. So
Has
the
she
rest
seen
of
the
the
latest
rest of this stuff that we discussed.
Seen any?
Did she see, she hasn't seen any? Okay. Well, actually, if people, have people looked at the second version?
Yeah, that's with those numbers and stuff.
Yeah,
I
okay,
think it's a
yeah.
great
Oh, yeah.
to send it to Jessica.
It didn't come out very nice, did it?
Well, I don't know, is that
What
my
Jessica and I
screen,
had
or-
discussed was that
I don't know, maybe
as the
the
committee, we
Google Docs.
want to come up with a draft that's complete before the planning department, being Jessica and myself, really, mostly Jessica, look at it
To give
to...
her this version now, so say,
Well, we need to come up with a final draft before we give it to her.
Okay, well, the piece that I put up, I would like everyone to look at, because I'm hoping it's a final draft.
this is the final.
So people should look at it and tell me if they have,
Did we, I mean, or we could,
Still a draft.
If
Draft
people
is
are
still a
willing
draft.
to stay late, we can do it, but I think
no, let's not.
we
Let's not.
basically got through 12 last time.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, we still haven't gone through, I think, the ACA Plus questions.
Totally one.
On the latest one.
I don't know.
Okay, that's not the latest
No,
one.
that's right, we let it talk maybe before.
Yeah.
And then we haven't
Oh, yeah, sure.
we haven't done the online shopping stuff. So we haven't done that as a group yet. And I think that we need to go through that.
So the file is called Easthampton Local Works Survey Draft 10/11, October 11th. So if everyone would look at that, please. And if you want me to email it to you, I can email it to you.
Could you email it to me?
Could you email it to me too?
I'm having.
I will email it to the group.
Good.
I will email attached, when I attach the minutes. So look at that.
So
And-
should we just mark it up by hand or whatever? and
Yeah,
Bring in
just
our,
mark it by-
bring up our markups, so not to do the collaborative
Not to do the
editing.
Yeah, because that's hard to read.
Okay.
So yeah, just mark it up by hand and just bring it with you next week.
Yeah, but I have to,
And then hopefully,
Only mark up after question 12, please.
yeah,
Seriously, because the other, before question 12 is stuff that we've already done.
or we can start at the end.
we can,
We can start with the last question and go backwards.
But only two question 12.
right.
What I'm saying is it'd be nice if we don't redo all the beginning stuff that we've already
So,
done.
and then for the agenda, if we can make it start with.
For
First for next time.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's okay. But what you can do-
okay.
Even above,
Was that a subconscious
even above new business.
Was that a subconscious thing? You didn't want to work on the survey, so you put it last?
No, no, because we put the two new businesses at the beginning. Did you take some notes before I got in?
5 minutes.
So
Did anyone take notes before I got in?
yeah.
Yes, I
I think I got it.
have.
Yeah.
Will you send them to me?
Yeah.
And I'll incorporate it in the minutes and I'll send it out. Okay.
Next, maybe?
So I guess that's it.
Oh, wait, quick question. EDIC, you were at the last EDIC meeting?
Yes,
Well, I haven't heard anything back. Was I voted in?
I don't know, have you heard back from the mayor?
I heard from the mayor that they were going to be voting in the last meeting, but I haven't heard since then.
Really?
You don't remember me being
I wasn't
voted
there, I
in?
was on vacation.
I didn't hear anything about it from Jess.
Were you in the meeting?
No, I missed it.
But you were in the meeting.
I was, but I was about 5 minutes late.
Okay.
Didn't happen when I was there.
So if I haven't heard, it means they probably didn't vote on it.
I don't think
I
they
know,
voted
they
on
hate me
it.
and they don't
And I
vote.
think that they waited to start until I got there. So I don't think they did.
Okay.
I'll find out.
I don't think they did.
When's the next meeting date? Is it the second Tuesday, you said?
It's the second and fourth Tuesday, so this is the second, oh, this is the fourth.
13th.
So November 13th?
There was somebody there that they thought was you.
Really?
Yes.
I'm glad I'm so well
That agreed to
known.
be the secretary.
Oh, was this the young guy?
Was he as good looking as I am? Or as modest?
He had been at the previous
Sean,
meeting.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelly maybe?
Yep, that was him.
Yeah.
You're off the hook.
So he's
Cool.
fresh out of college.
I do love that.
Severe.
At the area.
Well, he was unemployed at the time. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I didn't remember seeing him the meeting before.
It doesn't
He
mean-
came a little late though. Are we
I guess that's it. Adjourned.
adjourned?
Adjourned.
So,
All right.
You want, somebody has to push that.
we can talk about it.
So just push the stop button at the top.